A new statue unveiled today at the U.S. Capitol marks a historic first. Civil rights pioneer Mary McLeod Bethune is the first Black American to represent a state in Statuary Hall. Congressional leaders celebrated the unveiling and Bethune's legacy.
How poetic that Dr. Bethune replaces a little-known Confederate general trading a traitor for a civil rights hero in the Capitol of the United States.
Dr. Bethune wasn't just a great Floridian. She was a great American. An American who refused to accept that her humble beginnings or the color of her skin were a limit on her dreams and on her destiny. And an American who, in the face of the ignorance, the cruelty, and the prejudice of others, she refused to surrender to bitterness, or cynicism, or despair.
Lisa Desjardins has more on the unveiling.
Each state has two statues representing them in the U.S. Capitol. Florida lawmakers voted to remove one of theirs, a statue representing a Confederate general, and replace it with a statue of Bethune. Joining me now is her granddaughter, Evelyn Bethune. And Evelyn, your grandmother is especially known for her pioneering and relentless work in education. That's why she is depicted in the U.S. Capitol as wearing a cap and gown. In fact, she created what would become Bethune-Cookman University, starting with just $1.50. It ultimately became a historically Black university. Tell us more about what she did.
Well, I think the key element is to know that in order for her to found the school, she had to be a great organizer and fundraiser. Bethune-Cookman University sits on what was the city garbage dump, which was the only land they would give her, let her purchase during that time period. Because, you know, women weren't really allowed, women, Black or white, were not allowed to vote, make decisions, buy property or anything unless a man gave them permission or assisted them. And so for her to acquire this property for $250 and work out a deal because she only had $1.50 was quite amazing for that time period. But my grandmother took those skills and she built relationships with people like the Roosevelts. And she made sure that she was able to organize communities and people to vote once the vote was given to women. She registered women to vote across this country. She founded the National Council of Negro Women, which is an organization that was made up of women in leadership in the organizations within their communities. And at one point, they had over 5 million women in their membership. That's a huge voting bloc. And with that carries a lot of power.
You know, we met earlier today at Statuary Hall ahead of the unveiling of this statue, and that's a very special place. It is also a place where there are still statues representing Confederates. And I just wonder what it was like for you, that moment when her statue was unveiled, looking in that place, what you think that meant for the Capitol and for our country.
For us as a family, it is a position of pride that's very humbling when we think of our grandmother, our descendant, being a part of Statuary Hall. The fact that there are Confederate soldiers there is, you know, very interesting to me since they lost the war. And, you know, it speaks volumes in terms of the thinking of the people who placed it there, how they still hold on to the tenets of, you know, enslavement and unequal access. My grandmother is a reminder of the good that comes when we share power, when we give access to everyone, and when we make voting accessible to everyone easily, and not make it so difficult that, you know, you can't get registered, you can't get to the polls. And that's not what this country is about. This country is about freedom.
It's interesting you talk about the power of representation in this country, and it was the Florida legislature that decided your grandmother was the one to represent the state, to change the image it presented at the Capitol. But we also know in recent months the Florida legislature and governor have decided that they want to limit what teachers can actually say in classrooms about race and about our history of race. And I wonder what you think that means in general for society, but also for your grandmother's place in history.
Well, my grandmother's place in history is solid. There is very little that they can do to change her accomplishments unless we sit back and allow that to happen, which is not going to happen. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, we want to have freedom of speech and freedom to carry weapons, but on the other, we don't want to give you the ability to talk about the history of enslavement, because if we don't talk about it, we will try to repeat it. And Americans who relish and cherish freedom have to stand up and vote and remove people from office who think that we should go back to Jim Crow in the 1920s.
Evelyn Bethune, thank you so much for sharing with us what you know about your grandmother.
You're welcome.